Hello urban explorers. I decided to go on a walk over here to see the new construction of the East Side Trail extension here. I'm at Wiley Street, where the extension comes out between Wiley and Kirkwood Avenue, and I'm standing very close to Madison Reynolds' old general store. That brick building right there, that two-story brick building, is the general store where Madison Reynolds, who was the small business owner, shop owner, after whom Reynoldstown was named. But I wanted to show you a couple things here. We're going to get to the new Beltline in just a minute, but for those of you that have been on my tours the last 3 years, especially the last 2 years, you probably remember me talking about the fact that the Atlanta Beltline, the 22 miles of a Beltline corridor, was actually 4 separate railroad lines that were put in back in the late 1800s, early 1900s. They were called belt lines, 2 words. So that's not a new term. Well, those 4 belt lines, which basically encircled the city, were not meant to connect with each other. They were built by 4 different railroad companies, and there were gaps between the beginning and the ending points of those railroad lines. One of those gaps was right here. So one of the railroad lines, which was the Atlanta and West Point Railroad, came up here basically right up to Halsey Yard. At one time it crossed over Wiley Street right here. In fact, right where I'm standing here, this is the new sidewalk they put in, but if you look on the north side of Wiley Street, you see these rail lines that where they basically cut these off when they discontinued the lines. And these railroad lines, these tracks here, there looks like there were about 3 or 4 sets of tracks, continue over into Halsey Yard. The old tracks are still there. Let me get in here. You see if I can show you there. Those are the tracks that continued from the corridor. I'm a little bit too short to show you a good view of those, but yeah, maybe I can get it here. Okay, there you go. Those are the old tracks right there. Those go, that's Halsey Yard that you're looking at right there. Okay, my point here is these rail lines basically came in here and came into this junction where Halsey Yard is now, this CSX facility, and on the other side of those those containers, is the MARTA line, the East-West MARTA line. Okay, that was the old Georgia Railroad that's been there since the late 1800s. So that was part of what Sherman was trying to destroy to keep the Confederates from getting goods. But back to the Beltline. This Beltline basically ended here, and the next piece actually came in from the east up at Irwin Street, where Krog Street Market is. So what you're looking at here, this half mile or so of sidewalk between the Beltline corridor right here at Reynolds' old store, from there all the way to the Krog Tunnel, under the Krog Tunnel, down to Cab Avenue, and all the way up to Irwin Street, that is a place where the 2 different belt lines had a gap in them. Okay, so that's why you have all of this sidewalk that's built down the north side of Wiley. Okay, so and there's 3 other places, at least 3 other places around the 22 miles where they have those gaps. Anyway, let's go take a look at what's happening here. So they've just poured the concrete basically across Wiley Street here. They've put in place these flashing signals, looks like they're solar powered here, which are going to alert the cars that there's going to be a pedestrian crossing right here. So this is brand new. It's a slight speed table. It's not much of a speed table. It looks like there's a little bit of a rise there in Wiley Street. But what's new here, and this is what I wanted to show you, is the new trail. They've taken the fence down here, and they began to install the lights, which is really interesting here. I just posted a picture of what this corridor looked like a year ago today. I did my last hike through Reynoldstown, and that picture that I posted on Facebook and I think on Instagram was right here, actually looking back this way. But I'm at Stein Steel right now, and you can see the light poles right there. You see those posts right there? That's going to be the new lighting that's going to be on the extension. So between here and Irwin Street, you're going to have those lights. But there's that old corridor. It's still very beautiful. The interesting thing about this particular piece of the corridor between Wiley Street and Kirkwood Avenue here is that the trail basically backs up to residential. This is the first time we've seen residential backyards literally backing up to the Atlanta Beltline on the East Side Trail. We see a lot of it on the West Side Trail, but this is new for the East Side Trail. So it's looking great, and I tell you, my goodness, this looks more than 14 feet. I wonder, maybe it is. I tell you, this looks more like, it looks more than 14 feet, but maybe it is. It just looks a little wider. Maybe I'm so used to that Wiley Street, the 10-foot sidewalk on Wiley Street. But anyways, looking fantastic. I know I probably shouldn't be walking too far here, but they've taken the fences down. It looks like there's some more fences right down there at Kirkwood Avenue, but very exciting. I just wanted to show you this since it was fresh on my mind. This is the old railroad tracks, where all that debris right there that's over there on the side is all the debris that was here, the sublayers, the substrate, and all that was holding up those old tracks. What you see over here on the left, by the way, all this space between the edge of the trail right here and Stein Steel, that chain link fence right there is the property line. The rest of that is room for transit. And we're not 100% sure if they're going to bring the transit through, but boy, it sure looks like they're getting ready to put some transit through there. So who knows, maybe they'll end up going over Inman Park Station and then down through Reynoldstown that way, Walthall and all. That was the original plan, which would be very interesting if they end up doing that. Don't quote me on that, I don't know, but that was one of the original proposals. But it sure does look like they're laying plenty of room here for the transit. So sorry for that long-winded message, but it just hit me. A couple things just came together. The part about the gaps, I think, is really, really interesting here. And by the way, I've got a picture. There's a historical photo of what used to be right straight ahead there, where I showed the tracks a few minutes ago. There was a roundhouse, one of those wooden roundhouses where they worked on the trains right there where the junction was. So anyway, there's your Atlanta Beltline East Side Trail update from Reynoldstown. I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope to see you out on some hikes pretty soon here. This is going to be quite spectacular here when they open this extension. Kudos to the Atlanta Beltline for all the incredible work they're doing.